just want to ask where you are injury-wise and how Tommy DeVito, assuming he's in protocol, what you expect to do at quarterback this week.
Uh, yeah, he's in the protocol, so we'll see where he's at. Again, it's only a day away from where Drew was, so we'll see how Drew is, and we could potentially do that, but we'll see where these guys here are at each day, and Wednesday hopefully they'll be ready to go.
Brian Dunleavy.
Hey, Brian. How are you? Hey. Understanding, obviously, that winning is the priority on an individual basis as you try to evaluate players and know what you have with guys going forward. How tough is that right now with the situations going on right now? Like, can you get honest evaluations on your players individually, or no, because they're playing with guys that they don't normally play with and the scores are maybe not competitive points, like all the extra stuff going on? How does that make individual evaluations difficult?
I don't think it makes it difficult. They go out there, they compete as hard as they can compete. You evaluate their technique, you evaluate their understanding of the schemes, their competitiveness, all the things that they need to do at each position. So, everybody that's out there is going to be obviously evaluated, but everybody out there is going out there with that type of mindset.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Schwartz.
Hey, Brian.
Oh,
you got me. I got a couple for you. First of all, I wouldn't say Brian Burns is the last man standing, but he certainly is standing still and hasn't missed anything. From what you knew about him when you guys were thinking of trading for him to what you know now, the exact same, a little different, the player, the person, things like that?
Yeah, competitive young man. He's been productive. He's been productive for us. Tough. He's fought through some stuff. Nicks and bruises here. Done a nice job in his leadership role for us. Glad we have him.
Just as far, you're playing the team this week that drafted a quarterback in Michael Penix, a guy I'm sure you did a bunch of work on, and he's not playing. When you guys were in Buffalo, you guys got Josh Allen. I don't think the plan was to play him right away, but plans change, right? You played him pretty quickly. In the course of your time with these quarterbacks, what goes into that, and what do you think? I mean, is there a right and a wrong and a best and a worst? I mean, as far as playing them, not playing them, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to go here.
Yeah, I think every situation is unique in and of itself. I can't speak on Penix relative to being in Atlanta. Obviously, they have Cousins there who's been a good player for a long time, and every situation's been a little bit different here with some of these guys that have really taken off into, I would say, elite level of quarterback play. The last 5 or 6 years since the draft. So, again, every situation's different. The consistency there is important, but again, not knowing the player or the exact situation, I think it's just different.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Tom Rock.
Brian, what did you think of the way Tim played yesterday when you went back and watched the film? And I mean, could he step in and be the starter on Sunday?
Well, it depends on how these other guys are health-wise too. But I thought there was some. He made some nice throws. He was decisive with the football. He was ready to go. He was prepared. He's worked extremely hard since he's been here, and he made the most of his opportunity, the chance he got to be in there.
I also wanted to ask you, one of the things that Burns said yesterday after the game was that there wasn't a lot of talking after the game. It was nobody kind of gave sort of a fiery oration or whatever has usually followed these losses. Did you sense that, and what does that tell you about where you guys are at?
Well, I think we got a lot of new guys in there playing too, Tom. So it was, again, these guys laid it on the line as hard as they could possibly lay it on the line. It was by no means perfect. Obviously gave up some big plays and missed some opportunities, but their effort and their will, don't question that with those guys. So disappointed that we lost the game, and get ready to go this week.
Brian Dunleavy.
Brian, Paul mentioned Penix, and it made me think. Could you just talk a little bit about what kind of obviously we saw parts on Hard Knocks how much you did work on the quarterbacks. What did you like about him? What touch points did you have? Like, did you have a combine? Did you go to pro day? Like, what touch points did you have with him, and what did you like about Penix?
Yeah, he's a very productive player. He could throw it in all three levels. Very accurate. Obviously, had a lot of good players around him, but thought he really gave those guys chances down the field. Intermediate throws, kind of threw the ball effortlessly. Was athletic. I would say they used him on a lot of runs, more of kind of a drop back play action guy, but fairly athletic enough to do a variety of things. Met with him, had a good meeting, smart, instinctive. Thought he had a pretty good pro day, was at his pro day. So I thought he was a good prospect.
Thank you.
Yep.
Tom Canavan.
Hey Brian, how you doing?
Tom?
I have a quick question. If you look at quarterbacks in the league, I mean, you have guys like Goff and Burrow and Kyler Murray and Stafford and Lawrence, who are all first round, number one picks. Then you get guys like Josh Allen, who's a 7, Lamar Jackson, who's a 32, and Jalen Hurts, who's a 53. How do these guys slip and become, what is the common denominator there?
Yeah, I think it's a difficult question to answer because it just takes one person on a club or a decision maker that really likes somebody or doesn't like somebody. I think, again, every situation is different for these quarterbacks that they come into. And consistency is important with it. The development of the quarterback is important with it. Every one of those guys you mentioned have a different skill set, and all of them are playing at high levels. So, again, as many guys as you mentioned just now, there's even more you can mention that haven't hit. And that's just that's the nature of that position and the development of it.
Thank you.
Yep.
We'll take one more. Art Stapleton.
Hey, Dabes. How you doing?
Hey, Art.
Along the lines, when Rock mentioned Boyle and, talking yesterday to some of the players, some of the receivers, you've had several opportunities over the last year and a half where you've had a quarterback have to go in a game, whether it's starting or afterwards, that had no reps whatsoever with the guys that he was throwing to, or like in the case of Drew, would have to go all the way back to the spring. I'm just curious. I know it's a nature of the business and a nature of being professionals, but have you looked at things because you guys have had to do that you identify during the week and say, you know what, if this emergency happens, and things that maybe you've done to coach that guy, or do you just put it on Boyle and say it's because of his experience that he was able to go and do that yesterday? Because that's not an easy thing, I would imagine, to do for guys who have not had that time together.
Yeah, again, what we do is whoever's going to be that starter gets, I'd say almost all the reps. Most of the time he gets all the reps. The backup player will get show team reps, and we'll mix some of the third guy in there so he can get some throws. But then I'd say Christian Jones does a good job. He's our assistant quarterback coach of taking them over to another field when the offense is going, or the special teams, or whatever it may be. Any extra time he can get post practice, walk through time of going through scripts, of meeting extra. And then when we sit down with the quarterbacks, we make sure that you have a call sheet, but each of those guys maybe like something a little bit different on that call sheet. There's plenty of plays. So if that particular player happens to go in the game, that you pull out the call sheet that you want to use for him and really focus on the plays that he feels most comfortable with.
So just as a clarification from my perspective, yesterday when you guys find out that Tommy has a concussion and Boyle's coming in, you basically have a call sheet that you guys put together during the week that fits what Boyle may want to do if he's in that situation? Is that what
Yeah.
you were
So
looking
say
at?
you have 100 plays, Art, and one quarterback, you don't take those plays out. You just try to call the plays that you feel that comfortable or that quarterback feels most comfortable with. Again, Boyle's been good to work with because he's really picked up everything. So whether it's the extra meetings or going through the call sheet and understanding the things that we were trying to get done, he's put a lot of time and effort into it. He's a really good pro in that regard. So again, that there's not much that one guy likes that the other guy doesn't like. He's done a good job since he's been here of picking up the information and being able to apply it.
Gotcha. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Sorry, Dave's just one more. Jordan, go ahead.
Hey, Brian. I'm just curious. You mentioned before you've had up and down seasons, where you go through losing streaks and stuff. I'm wondering about how do you, as a coach, like what's your mindset through it all? Do you, as it keeps extending, do you change anything? Do you try to think of it differently? Like, what's your approach to all this?
Yeah, you're always trying to improve. So each week's a different week, and you try to do the best job you can each week.